Hi there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel and welcome to Mixed Media Mayhem. Today we are working off of a recipe. Our recipe includes circles, buttons or brads, and string, thread, or ribbon, so some kind of fiber. So I am starting off with this paper. It's a pretty old paper. I think its actual collection is possibly called Oh Boy? No, Hey Dude? I'm not sure actually. So don't quote me on that. Anyway, it's an older collection. I think it's from Pink Paisley. Also, not 100% sure about that, but it's very old and it's out of a paper pad. So I pulled out some circle dies, and this particular one matched really well. It kind of cuts off the little pinked edges, which gives you that color of the yellow, red, or black around the outside of the circle. But that's okay. I don't mind that too much because I'm just going to ink them up with some black anyway. And I'm really not pulling in that exact shade of yellow or anything like that. So I was totally okay with it being cut off. And I decided to cut out a couple of each one of these sayings. I'm not super crazy about the mustache one. I've never was one to really get into that I mustache you something. And this one happens to say I mustache you a question, which actually could have worked on this layout, but I don't end up using it. So I do end up using the Hey Dude and the Oh Boy and the one that says Smile. So I just kind of leave out the mustache one. It's not my favorite thing. Anyway, I have these 3 photos of my son when he was probably about 10 or 11 years old with one of his friends from Cub Scouts, and they are at Flames restaurant after Cub Scouts. And I don't know if you have a Flames where you're at, but we have a couple of them here, and they have these huge cakes, and as you can see, the cake slice next to his head is as big as his head. They look amazing and they taste meh. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to use hickory smoke, candied apple, speckled egg, and wild honey as my 4 colors that I am going to ink up with. So anyway, the cake is it's all right. I think the kids like it a lot better than I liked it. It's very sugary, very sweet, and just a little bit much, and probably perfect for a Cub Scout. Anyway, so I am just documenting that. I thought I would use the acrylic that I had from MK that has the Yum scale on it, which gives you 5 stars. You can rate it, and I would rate it less than 5 stars, but I don't end up using it. I did kind of play around with it, but I decided not to use it, and it didn't really need it on this particular layout. So what I did was I had some cardstock, and I took the larger circles in that nested die set, and I cut them out of this larger cardstock. And actually this is the front of a paper pad. It's not the paper pad I'm using, but it is a paper pad. I recently tore a bunch of my paper pads, old paper pads, apart, and I am getting ready to part with them at a local flea market type event for scrapbookers. It's at our local scrapbook store. So anyway, I decided to go ahead and use the front of the paper pad because it's a little bit thicker, and I cut my circles in varying sizes using a Big Shot and those dies. And then I also have this ring of smaller circles that are cut out of acetate, and I keep those as a stencil to make like bubbles and stuff like that. So I didn't really need to recut any of the smaller circles. I just needed to cut those really large circles. And I feel like I should need to cut some of those big circles in acetate and add them to this ring. But that was the worst English probably that I have spoken in a video. But anyway, I am just taking all of these colors, basically pulled from the colors that were in the paper pad, and I am just inking up a very polka dot type background because our recipe calls for circles. So this is how I'm getting my circles on there and using some mixed media. Now I'm not too worried about the center because at this point I know I am going to have my photos run down the center of the layout. And so I'm not worried about completing those. That's why the blue one is only partially done. This gray one that I'm about to do is only going to be partially done as well. The only thing about these acetate pieces that I'm using is you have to use the same color repeatedly, or you have to wipe them down, because obviously the ink doesn't soak into them and dry ever because it's acetate. And if I went to go and add say a lighter color on top of that black, it would just turn into a big mess. Anyway, I did add some black soot here to my original 4 colors that I was using, and I'm really liking the way that the black brings in some added depth of color and kind of grounds everything just a bit. So I'm also, while I'm doing this, thinking about the fiber. How am I going to get some twine or thread or ribbon in there? I was at a retreat when I was doing this, so I don't have any thread with me, which would be a really quick and easy answer, is to just throw it in the sewing machine, stitch all the way around the outside, maybe stitch my layers of paper together. That would be a really quick and easy answer, or easy way to get some thread in there. I probably could have also nested some thread in on top of 1 or 2 of these circles, or more, but I didn't have any with me. So I went to a friend of mine who has a ton of ribbon stuffed in this little case that has like little holes all on the outside, and the ribbon kind of pulls through. We call it the dog. So I went and visited the dog and pulled out this piece of ribbon, which I thought was perfect because it's black and white, it's not going to compete with any of my colors. I knew I was going to be using this black and white polka dot on my background, and so it goes with that. And it also brings in a different shape, because right now I've got circle and circle and circle and even more circles when I add this paper. So the only thing that is not a circle is the actual shape of the paper itself. So I'm thinking adding in something that is different is going to help, because if I added in, say, a polka dot ribbon, it would just be adding more circles, and it probably wouldn't stand out quite as much. So I'm just aligning this 6-inch piece of paper right down the center, and I am going to, my paper wasn't completely 12 by 12, it was a little bit larger for whatever reason. This white paper was just not the right size. So anyway, I am going to go ahead and use my ATG gun all the way down each side. I'm going to stick that ribbon down, and then I will adhere it over the back side. Now, once I got home, I did run a little bit of liquid glue underneath the ribbon because I noticed it was popping up, and so that really is going to help. But at this point, I didn't want to just deal with the liquid glue because I felt like it would take a long time to dry, for starters, and it would wiggle around while I was working. So the ATG gun worked just fine for this purpose, and then I just use a little liquid glue underneath it as needed. So these 3 photos, I thought they were kind of cool, just my son and his friend, and then my son measuring his head against the plate, and then he's getting ready to take a bite in that bottom one, and his mouth is like jaw dropping open because this cake is so huge. So now I'm trying to figure out where I want these circular elements, trying to figure out the placement. I didn't want to completely cover that one that says once in a lifetime adventure with the star in the middle, because I want that star to show. I thought about putting some of these circles over on top of the circles, which would have been a really great design if I hadn't been using that central column and having that black and white paper over the top. So it would have worked well for that type of a layout, but in this case, I don't end up putting them over on top of the polka dots. I end up just zigzagging them down the center of my photos there. And I really do like the way that it comes out, and it looks good in my opinion. So I did like the piece that says smile. That originally was like the red part was actually a banner that went off of the edges of the circle, but because the word fit completely within the circle, I decided to go ahead and just cut those edges off. It wasn't a big deal. And then I was able to tuck it underneath the photograph and not have it compete or anything. So I did use my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive on the back here to hold those ribbons on the back, because a lot of times when you stick it in your page protector, they get caught and then they pop up and then you've got a big mess. I also put some washi tape right over the back because I don't want them to pop off from the back. So our other item we were supposed to use were brads or buttons, and I happened to have a lot of brads with me on this weekend because I was destashing a bunch of stuff, and brads were one of those things because I have just an abundance of them. And so this gave me an opportunity to go ahead and put some of them to use before I just part with all of them. And I really am not actually parting with all of them. I'm just parting with a large portion of them because like I said, I have so many. So I am using a bunch of these brads. Most of these are from my Mind's Eye, and I really like them because they're really good quality brads. And I'm just using a foam mouse pad that's a circular mouse pad that's underneath my layout there to go ahead and catch my tweezers when I poke them through, and that allows me to pop the brads right on through and add some additional polka dots that are different sizes and different textures isn't the right word, different designs, and so that just adds a little bit more interest. They've got some diagonals and some polka dots on those brads, and so I thought that was perfect. I'm liking the way this is coming together, and I don't have a whole lot more to do. I am going to go over all of those brads in the back with some washi, just so that when I slide it in my page protector, it doesn't get caught up on the opposing page that is back to back with this one. And while I do that, I wanted to remind you that there is a hop going on. The links to the people who should be playing along are down below, so you can go and check them out. And again, this is a mixed media hop that we do every Friday, and then the final Friday of the month we invite everyone to join us and play along. And that one, the inspiration piece, will be posted in advance for you. It actually should be up already, so that you can go and check out what the inspiration is, so you can play along at the end of the month if you are interested in that. So here's the acrylic piece. I tried to get it on there. It actually says yum rating or yum scale, and I don't end up using it. It was too much. The layout has plenty on it. I am going to do a little bit of journaling. The journaling is probably going to be in the big orangey circle next to where it says hey dude, or in the red one in the bottom left hand corner. And that is it, you guys. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this layout. Or this video. This one came together really quickly, and I really like the way that it turned out, and I hope that you do too. If you did, I would love a thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to subscribe and hit that bell notification if you want notifications as to when I post new layouts. Don't forget, if you have questions or comments, you can leave those down below, and I do respond to every single one of them. I appreciate your time, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye-bye.